Basically, we now have our two wonderful actors with us. Will you please introduce yourselves to our audience here?
Sure. Hi, my name is Tim Tracy.
Hi, my name is Lorraine Montez.
Cool. So we're basically a work in progress. What we're setting up for is a psychiatrist's office. It's going to be a little bit crude because I don't have a couple of tools here that I would dearly love, but just to give everybody an idea of what I'm trying to do here. It's sort of in the winter time, so it's already after 6 o'clock. The sun's gone down. What time does the sun go down in Seattle in the winter?
3.
2 o'clock.
About 2 o'clock.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, it's after sunset. So we're going for a sort of night, I suppose, a night scene in a psychiatrist's office, and Tim's been good enough to be our psychiatrist, and Lorraine's going to play this demented woman. So what we've basically got going here is we've got a sort of blue-green, same as we did before, full blue, half green 2K there. It's coming through a homemade Cucaloris, which has been opened up to allow the light to fall on Tim quite nicely here, and also do some really nice catch light on Lorraine's hair, as you can see. So that's what's going on with that one. It's got some, I mean, obviously we don't have a background out the windows here, but you can see it's doing rather nice things on the blinds and giving them shape and giving them interest. What I'm not liking about this at the moment is we need a little bit of fill, which we're getting from here. The trouble is it's just going everywhere. And so what we're trying to find at the moment is what we call a teaser, which is basically a very long flag that we can put across here and bring it in quite tight to the set so that we can take some of the light off that back wall, which is driving me nuts because it's very distracting and it's just a big bland nothing. So do we have anything like a long piece of fabric, a 12 by, or? Yeah, so if we got a piece of pipe and a long piece of fabric like a 12 by, then we can up and down it and create a teaser across here. That would be a wonderful thing. And while that process is going on, whenever we want, we can jump up on the 300 there. I'd love to get that just boxed in a tiny bit. Do we have any snoots for those lamps? Probably not.
Well, we should have cinefoil.
Oh, so yeah, so some black wrap, and then we'll just box that in on Lorraine and probably put a double in it just to give her a little bit of backlight. And that's basically pretending that it's coming from the lamp on the table that we can see over there, which is a bit of a cheat, but you know, again, it's motivation for shaping light. And the importance of that will become apparent once we start moving in for our close-ups and things like this. So we're starting on a wide shot. Are you guys able to cut to this so our people out on the internet can see? Okay. So we're basically working on a sort of wide shot here. We're just a tiny bit. Let's go in just a little bit. So this is a kind of master shot that we're working on at this point in time. Floor down here is a bit boring, so much more interesting to be up just inside the top corner of the set that you can see. Now, while we're fiddling with this, are there any questions coming in, just so that we can keep the banter going?
Sure, Gail. That's a good question. I have some questions that were from earlier, Gail. C.H. Noren had asked, again, can Gail speak about ultra contrast filters? I'm so very curious about his opinion of them. Yeah, I mean, I think when you have very, very savage light, they're very useful. I use them quite a lot. I use them in LA because
you know, the light is so very savage. Again, I would never use them on the HD DSLR platform because I think they damage the files, which are already fairly fragile. But on the Alexa, the Red, the Genesis, or you know, a 35 motion picture camera, then absolutely. They make a huge difference, you know, sort of in which order you place them. They should always be, if you want control over them, they should always be the filter that's closest to the lens, especially if you're using a polarizer or an ND or an 85 or an 85 ND combination. They should always be the lens that's closest to the actual optical glass of the lens, because if they're the furthest out, they'll catch much more light than they would if they're behind the other filters. So, but I think they're great filters, and you know, they're really excellent at, you know, reducing contrast.
Gail, I have a question from One Blurry Lens, who would like to know if you ever do any drawings or sketch out what you want in a setup, or is this all going on in your head all the time?
You know, that's a good question. I often with my electrics, I sketch out. I'm a terrible artist, by the way, but I often sketch out sort of how I would see positions of lights, and based on, you know, we on a production such as House, we chop down at least 10,000 trees a day. We use so much paper that it's, I mean, it's actually necessary, so it's not that we're just evil people. But every single set comes on paper, and it's sort of as a draftsman's drawing. And so, you know, based on that, I can tell my electrical crew where I see lights working from. Having spoken to the director about the content of the scene, it also works really well in terms of asking the art department to provide wall fittings or sconces or stuff like that, because, you know, suddenly once it's on paper it becomes a real thing, and you start to get an idea of what the set's going to look like and how big it is and what areas you're covering. So in that sense, yes, absolutely.
I have a question from Radu. Are there any major differences in lighting between stills and film, if you consider shooting exactly the same scene that we're looking at here, between stills and shooting film?
Well, I think you, I mean, because film is built up of a multitude of shots, you often tend to shoot much wider shots in film than you, you know, of a dramatic scene. Just because you know very well you're going to go into close-up shortly thereafter. You know, and often in stills you don't have to tell a story apart from a single frame, whereas in film you tell a story via a series of frames and dialogue and all kinds of other elements, so it's slightly different. I would say that once you get into close-up, then probably not. There probably isn't really very much difference. But it's just the way in which you construct, you know, a whole scene in film to tell the story. You know, where you start for your wide shot, and then how you decide to move in on the scene. You know, like that.
Thank you.
Now, just one thing. This is supposed to be a teaser. A teaser is a big top chop. I need something like. Do we not have a 12 by 12? Yeah, what I need is a piece of pipe and some fabric that hangs down about this far, that I can put, you know, a 12-foot tube or pipe or something like that would be great. Do we have any 12 by 12s at all?
Yeah, we have 12 by frame. Let's just use a single bar.
Let's just use a single bar, because those aren't going to do anything at what I need. I just need a bar right across here and a 12 by 12, you know, half draped, a third of it hanging down, and then we can up and down it to use it as a teaser. And so, time for more questions. I'm sorry, because I'm concentrating half on you, I'm not helping the guys out, and I'm making them do double the work, so they'll probably kill me afterwards, but anyway.
Gail, Can you explain what you mean when you say you're going to use it as a teaser?
A teaser is like a very, very long, big flag, and it basically is separated from the light by quite a long way to do a lot of flagging. Again, I've got no idea why they call it a teaser, and there's probably suddenly 5,000 answers on the internet, but it's basically just a long, big curtain to control the light that's hitting the whole top section of the set, basically.
Okay.
And, you know, they use so many weird expressions in the film business. I mean, you know, you often say things like, can you tease the light off that wall? Can you, you know, even things like clothespins are called, I don't see any around, here's one here. This is not a clothes peg, this is a C-47 in the film business. And I asked one of the guys, and they said they thought it was in the NASA catalogue as a C-47. So whether that's true or not, but you know, nothing's obvious. It's there's nicknames and things for everything. It's a very strange business.
Yeah, we talked a lot yesterday about ISO, but Bernardo Villos is asking if you're lighting this scene for a particular ISO.
Probably about 640. Not having a go at Craig, but there isn't an awful lot of power in this studio, so we're limited to what we can plug into the wall, and so we'll probably end up about 640 at the moment. I think not sure where we are right now. Oh, 320. So it'll either be 320 or 640, but thereabouts, you know. But I didn't particularly go for the ISO. It's more dictated by the lights. I mean, on things like House, we tend to use much more powerful lights than these, you know, to cover larger areas. It's rare that we work in sets that are this small, you know, because, well, we actually do. The thing is that often a lot of the walls are glass. We have an awful lot of glass to deal with on House, and so you see from one room to another, to another, to another, to another, so we end up lighting vast amounts of space, even though we might be working in a small room, you know. Now, what I'd love to do with that is just to, oh no, you're great, I'm not going anywhere. Just sort of, let's just pool it down here. And what we might want to do is maybe spot it in and then stick a double in it, so, and then we can box it right in. So it's just literally a back edge pool here. And we'll try and keep it off the wall a tiny bit. And so as you can see, lighting's an incredibly tedious process, and it can go on forever. That's why directors hate DPs, basically, because we take up all their time. What we'll do with that, we'll bring it right into here, so it's much, much sharper, yeah. We'll bring the whole thing right into across this line here. So we come in just with one stand just there, and then yeah, and then hook, come round on your end, so you end up over here. That end, so we're running across here. Yeah, you're good. Keep going forward, 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 forward. There we go. Now we should start to get a bit of action from there. So let it just hang down a little bit more if you can. Sorry guys, I'm very tunnel vision, so I'm sort of half on the internet and half with you guys. And we probably want it to hang down a bit more than that. Just might just work. Let's try that, and then just take the whole thing. Let's sky the whole thing when we can. Now, there we go. Now we're actually let's it. Now we're starting to cook a little bit. I don't know, if you just up and down that, you'll see what I'm trying to do. It's, let's bring it all down and let this hang down about another 2 feet. Have you got enough? Or are you short of fabric? Have you got much more fabric?
Yeah, we can give you about 2 more feet. Yep.
Oh yeah, that would be great. And then we can really show what I'm trying to do with this thing. It's not uncommon for, grips and electrics to think that all DPs are insane, by the way. It's a very common feeling. You can almost see it in the thought bubbles above people's heads, you know. What's this nutcase asking for this for? Yeah, let's go up with it now. Now keep going. Keep going. Oh, now come down with it. Now, I hope everyone can see what this is doing, because basically what we're doing is we're controlling the light on that back wall. And let's keep coming down so that we just feel like, could you go just a fraction that way? So we can just start to feel it just start to clip on Lorraine there, down here. So we don't want to cut any light on Lorraine. So just, you can go up and down quite fast so you can see what it's doing. No, just on that end first. Just go up and down quite fast so we can see what it's doing. Yeah, there we go. About there. That's nice, because it's just taken the light off the wall, and now we've got more emphasis on Lorraine, so that's starting to work quite well. And I think that's working quite nicely. You could do the same kind of thing by controlling the bounds too. By lowering the bounds, you would effectively make that shadow line sort of move up the wall. But now we're starting to get into a situation where we've got a little bit of control over the wall. By this being bigger and coming in even closer, you would shadow that. So let's see if we can do that. Let's see if we can bring that stand around to here. Oh, no, I mean, you can, if you go that way with your end, we'll just fish it round. Yeah, that's it. And just come into about, just so your stand's just this side of the lens. There we go, about there, perfect, okay. That's it. So by doing that, what we've done now is to make it sharper. We've made the cut line sharper. So now just try going up and down again on your end. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, that's quite nice. So without affecting this light, we've now just taken even a bit more light off the wall. And you can you give the audience, oh, let's have a look. While we're here, we'll play with this line. Can I just flash that guy? Oh, you know what? I think it's a bit too focused on the table. Let's just ease it off the table and pan it slightly over this way, so it's just catching Lorraine a little bit more. It looks like it just needs to pan left a tiny bit. There you go. Now we're cooking. That's cool. Okay. Let me just have a look at that. Okay. Now, could somebody go outside and flash it while you were up the ladder?
Intentional and striking.
Yeah, so everybody just have a look at what's going on here now that we've put in this backlight. It's quite believable that, at least it is to me, but then I'm a terrible liar, that's coming from the table. And it, as a wide shot, I'm sorry, got my huge ass right in front of the lens. Just flash it again. Okay. Now what we will do is, because that lamp isn't actually in shot, let's just slide the camera very slightly over so we feel that practical. It's always a very good idea to, if you're using a practical and you're pretending that you're lighting from it, to actually see it, because otherwise, yeah, let's move it a little bit. That's good. And just see if the head twists a little bit so I can feel it. Yeah, there we go. Will it twist a tiny bit towards me, or is it, it won't go that way? There we go. Yeah, that's not bad. So now, let's just slide it slightly back, because now it's growing out of, sorry, was it Tim? Tim. It's growing out of Tim's head a little bit. Just so let's slide it to the left. There we go, that's good. Okay, so now, we've got several elements at playing here. Is the audience Are the guys out on the internet, are they looking at the image from this, the 5D? Yeah. They are, good. Okay. Yeah, I think that's pretty damn good. And it'll certainly do for the moment. I mean, there are some finesses that I would do if we had more time, but if I really work this shot and get it completely done to my liking, this is all we're going to do today. The things that I would do would be to take the light off the carpet down here. I would take a bit more light off the table. I'm not going to do that now because it'll take too much time to do it, and I really want to show a whole variety of different sorts of things. So just, I mean, if you look at the image, you'll see that there is an awful lot of my eyes being pulled by this carpet down here, so I would certainly be removing that, or at least taking 2 stops out of it. I'd be doing that and taking light off the table. So there we basically are with something that's workable as a believable night shot that didn't take too long to do, with not an awful lot of materials. We're basically, how many lamps have we got? We've got a 1K, a 2K. This one we don't actually need to play right now because that might come into play when we come in, because we've got the practical in shot. We can then use it as justification for lighting from there. We've got a Cucurloris, which looks like a bunch of rats have had lunch, up there, which is doing some nice breakup work on this rather bland wall in the bookcase. It's also doing nice things on the blinds. It's also doing nice things on Lorraine's hair. So this actually works kind of very, very nicely as a kind of wide shot. Before we move on and talk about what coverage we might have for this scene, Brian, let's just, sorry, Tim, let's just see you just start sitting down at the table over there. And it's obviously not lit too well for that position, and I'm not going to take the time to do it, but just, you know, as an intro to a scene, you know, it might be very nice to slide the camera past something to find this scene. You know, maybe just rest on an elbow on the table or so. Yeah, now we've got some nice, you can just play a practical just like that if you just wanted an intro. You've suddenly got some nice light on Tim. So you cheat actors, you cheat positions of lamps. He's, you know, if I was doing this for real again, we use Roscoe LED panels, and I might put one on the face of his monitor and twist the monitor away a bit so you felt a glow from the computer screen and things like that. So we might do that. I'd probably be tempted to, I mean, I'm imagining that this is a corridor, what I'm seeing out of there in a large office building or something like that. So I might put a slash down that wall. Not going to do it now because we've got quite a lot to get through. But just think about all the different components that you could do to this scene to improve it. So it was the carpet, the table, a little bit of a back edge on Tim's head there. A glow on his face might be nice. A slash down that wall in the corridor. Actually, that we could do. Have we got a 650 or something like that? Just yeah, it's just like if we use it sort of over there and just put a light sort of keep it fairly close to the back wall and then put a top chop on it. So we just put a nice diagonal line outside. Oh, there we go. So there's a little LED that's coming to there, and yeah, it actually reads in his spectacles, which is quite nice. So that's pretty cool. And maybe what we could afford to do now is just to tip the practical down a bit, so it actually makes a bit more of a statement. Yeah, even a bit more, so we take a bit more of the practical light off Tim's face. There we go. Now we're starting to get something interesting happening. We've got some rather nice, feels like a reflection. Can you guys see that? Not sure on your angle, but you know, this is really beginning to work. Probably move this over here. This is, probably put this on a little table or something up here. So, yeah, maybe an apple box or something, just because we're looking at a large area of bland wall, and, you know, anything that distracts or takes the eye away from Lorraine or Tim is not a good idea. So just for the moment, we can do that.
How long does it take you to light a scene usually?
Well, the thing about TV is that you always know where you're going next and what you're going to be doing. So you've always got people working. You've managed to drag the director off and say, what did you want to start with? What did you have in mind? So, you know, you're often already halfway lit by the time you're ready to move into that scene. But sometimes setting up a really big scene can take an hour. But then once you have done that, sort of a turnaround or all the intermediate shots are generally about 15 minutes each.
Is that with the actor, or
well,
you add him in later?
It's very difficult with an actor like Hugh Laurie to predict what he's going to do and where he's going to want to stand and sit and those sorts of things. So it tends to be, you know, we tend to do a private rehearsal first, which is just literally actors, director of photography, director and writers. Okay. And then you do a private rehearsal, you work out all the kinks in the scene. Generally it goes smoothly, and then once everyone's happy with that rehearsal, then the crew are invited to see it, so they know, you know, what's happening in the scene, and marks are put down, you know,
so
on the floor.
So you do film it, the rehearsal?
No, we don't film it, but we put marks on the floor where all the actors are going to, you know, say Hugh Laurie comes to look out of a window over here, they put a mark down, and, you know, if someone ends up over there, they put marks down for where all the chairs, so everything's marked. And then we have our stand-ins who are basically all chosen to look similar and be the same height as all our actors to basically, and they all take very copious notes about, oh, he looked at this, he took a cup of coffee at this point, he put sugar in it at this point, he stirred it at this point, he, you know, so they watch very carefully all the actions and the directions that the actors face and take. So that they can replicate that to help me in terms of my lighting, because sometimes they forget something and it's really critical. I suddenly, you know, you're suddenly halfway through take one and Hugh Laurie goes and looks in a different direction than I knew about, and he's got no light on his face, and that's really annoying because it means that then I have to stop everything and put up another light or, you know, something like that, which irritates everyone. So, because once you get going, it's really good to go, you know.
Yeah.
And because that shooting time is so precious and expensive, and you know. Anyway, so actually, just try and go the other way, as if it was coming from a, say, a wall sconce coming down the wall. You had a 50-50 chance of being right. Let's put a quarter row on it and make the slash go downwards at the top. Yeah, the opposite direction. I mean, come from the right, but take the lamp high and point it down. Yeah. And then yeah, that's it. And then raise the lamp up, and that'll do it. We don't need to go mad. It's just to kind of give an idea. And let's put a double and a single in that, a double and a single wire. And then just raise the, yeah, there you go, perfect. And then just put a double and a single in it, and we'll leave it at that. We could always make it a bit more orange, but we basically ended up with quite a nice little wide shot here. At least we will once that ceases to be quite so bright. There you go. Yeah, that's fine. So there you go. There's a wide shot. And then, Tim, just come and take a seat in the armchair. Just do a little move over. So he moves quite nicely through the light there. So I probably wouldn't bother to do anything very much. It's rather nice that he moves through shadow and light because it gives a nice sense of movement. So if this was our master shot, we've shot this. Let me ask our class, where would we go after this if we wanted to do coverage on this scene? Would there be anywhere that we would particularly think of to go?
After you're wide?
Yeah, after we've shot this as a master shot. Say, actually, you guys just do something. Just say, let's start over and then just do a bit of ad-libbing. Tim, just once Lorraine starts ranting about something, just come and take a seat to try and calm her down, and then just play out a little scene of 2 minutes and. Okay, and action when you're ready.
I've tried. I did everything you told me, and it's just not working. It's not working at all. I'm sorry.
No, please. Go on.
Okay, I went home. I made the list you told me to make.
With the pen that I told you to use, it's about the pen. This all goes back to the pen.
I can't touch it.
You have to touch the pen. The list isn't a list unless it's made with that pen.
I used a pencil.
You can't use a pencil. The pencil erases, and that's the issue.
Okay, okay, see, the thing is, the pen won't come off my hands, okay? It gets on my hands, and it won't come off.
You know what, that's great. That's perfect for the piece we need, because I love the little bit of madness at the end there, and that will enable me to talk to the class and the internet about one thing. So basically what we would do after having shot this master scene, which works quite nicely, and you might cut back to it. I mean, the scene might end up with you getting so berserk that you throw the bowl at him and storm out the door, who knows? So you might want to be in this wide shot for that. So you'd run this, and this is all real conventional stuff. I mean, you know, and as I said yesterday, rules are there to be broken, but conventionally, this is a very nice place to cover this scene, and it's favoring mostly Lorraine, who really has the slightly bigger part in this, because she's the demented one and the one that you're slightly more interested in her story, which is why the camera's slightly over here. What I would say is, because we're primarily lit in this direction, the first direction of coverage you'd want to do is to come over Tim here, and basically cover Lorraine on a couple of sizes. So let's set up for that. Let's grab, this is where our 2 cameras will come into play. I'm gonna not worry at all about all the crap out of the window, because if we clean up outside the window, we won't get through any of this. So need a little bit of help, and in the meantime, I'll take some questions. Love to lose this. Love to just cheat Tim's chair in a little bit to be able to get 2 cameras in here. One camera is going to be a wide-ish 2 shot, and the other camera will be a 70 to 200 closer shot on Lorraine, and that's where we'll start to. I'll show you what I was going to do with that practical. So. Yeah, love to lose this. You guys can relax. Actually, Lorraine, do you mind staying there? Tim can stay. Can take your seat over there if you want, Tim, or whatever. I'm sorry to ask you to do this. If we can do this as quietly as possible, otherwise it's really difficult for everyone. But we can take some questions while we move on to the next phase. Is this all working for everyone? Does this make any sense? Yes. Okay.
Gail, I have a question from Bernardo, who would like to know how many inches of depth of field are you planning to use for this particular scene?
Oh, I hadn't even thought about that, quite honestly. You know, once I actually look at the shots, then on the wide shot, because it's actually quite a wide shot, you're going to have quite a lot of depth. It's when I get in closer that I start to be more concerned about those things, how much separation I want between the actor and the background, how much I want to blow the background down. you know, because I was almost on a 24 mil here, almost the whole thing's sharp anyway at this distance. It's not until you get in really close on somebody that you can start to then throw the background away. But I never think of it in those terms. I just think of it in terms of what looks good to the eye. So the answer to that question will probably come in a few minutes, you know.
Question from Mike K is, how do you deal with being 1/3 or 2/3 of a stop out of exposure if you're trying to stick to the ISO 160, 320, 640 guideline?
Just by using the aperture. I mean, keep the ISO where you really like it, and then just vary the aperture, because that works in 1/3 of a stops. And if, you know, to be quite honest, I mean, the difference between 1/3 of a stop, most people couldn't even remember, even if they saw one shot immediately after another. You know, 1/3 of a stop is a pretty fine adjustment, you know.
Okay, let's see here. You're also playing the role of director right now, and
Yeah.
during a normal scene like this, who would be deciding on the camera positions?
Yeah, a combination of both. Mostly, you know, I actually hate directing. I'd much rather be just a DP. I actually don't hate it. I'm just not as good at it as I am as being a DP. So that's why I chose to, in my career, concentrate on being a DP more. But very often the director, you know, some directors are very strong in terms of the framing they like to use. So, you know, what we're doing is just deconstructing basically a very basic scene, just to, you know, but it could well be the director, but often it could also well be the operator that just wheels the camera into position and says to the director, "Do you like this? Is this what you were looking for?" And the director might well say, "Yeah, sure, that's great," or "Let's go longer," or "Let's go wider," or so on and so forth. So it's often a combination of several people, you know.
Question behind you.
I was kind of brain dead when you asked about coverage earlier. I was thinking, like, potentially if you wanted to accentuate her mental state, you might use a Dutch angle or shoot through that glass boss there, or do a close-up of her twitching hands.
Sure, exactly. I mean, that's exactly what I was talking about. And I think, you know, the other thing is getting in much closer on her with a wide-angle lens too, you know, which is what we'll explore in a minute. But those are all very valid ideas, and it's whatever you feel is best. You know, you know. So anyway, so we need.
The apple box is in the shot. If you want to pull the plant.
Well, it won't be anymore, because now we're going to go in. It doesn't matter. I mean, it's a lighting exercise. So, Tim, can I see you back in this seat? Let's find. Is the 70 to 200 there? That one should come in really tight over Tim here, and we'll try and feel a piece of Tim, and we'll be as tight back to the wall as possible. Just so we've got a chance to get the other camera in as well. How's that looking? Let's have a look. Yeah. I've probably got a lens cap, yeah. What is that?
And
Hang on, let me get that lens cap off. Can you see it? I can't see that. There we go. It'll come up in a sec. Okay. Now. I'm not used to these heads on where's the tilt? Just wonder where the tilt is on this head. Is that it? Cool.
And then we're on monochrome too.
Oh, okay, we should go to color and, do you mind setting that up, Stephen? Right, there you go. Now, do we have, we don't have we? Yeah, we do have an opal frame, don't we? Let's grab that opal frame and just soften the light a tiny bit on Lorraine here. Let's bring the opal frame into here. You can hold more questions at me if you want while we're doing this.
Okay, question, Gail, from Canon Chick.
Yeah.
Is, do you have any input in the editing room?
Very, very rarely. Only when we, some strange mistake happens and we did a lighting effect and it's forgotten about in the edit. But very, very little indeed. It's really a whole totally separate department, and that's much more the director's domain than the DP's domain, you know.
Okay, another question from Mercaden, who said, I noticed that all the shots are static shots, and in your opinion, are craning and panning shots of more value in the cinema world?
I think movement is great. The only reason I'm not getting involved in too much of it here and now is just because this is more about lighting and less about camera movement. And, you know, if we start getting involved in cranes and things like that, then, you know, we won't get through as much material as I'm hoping to get through today. But I think camera movement is wonderful. And we were just a minute ago talking about how an intro to this shot might be coming into the scene from behind something, rather like what we did with our swing dancers yesterday, coming through some glass or through some objects or from behind a bookcase or whatever. So I think it is very important, and especially in movies, you know. So absolutely.
I have a question from Michael Solomon, which is, how do you control reflections of your light on glass or other reflective surfaces? Do you simply use a circular polarizer?
Almost all, you know, we have a massive amount of glass in the set of House because it's a hospital set, and almost all our glass is designed to gimbal a little bit. It'll gimbal that way or that way, depending upon which way you put the pins in. So we tend to avoid it that way because there's no degree of polarization that will take a direct light reflection out of a piece of glass. You know, it'll limit it, but it won't get rid of it completely, and it's always going to be disturbing, you know. I'm sorry, guys. Let's just bring this down a little bit closer. Let's bring it sort of right into here so we can soften this out a tiny bit more. And I'd love to bring the other camera in. Is Jason there? Yeah, that's cool. Let's bring that other camera in so you come alongside this camera with a wider two-shot. We might be okay. Let's have a look. I thought we had a 4x. I thought we had one that was.
250 on it.
Oh, we put 250 on it. Okay. All right. Let's see if we can get away with this. Come around this way. Thanks. Come in a wee bit. This is so loose. That's, sorry? Yeah, about there. What was that? Yeah, we could do that. Or I'll tell you what. Have you got any pure opal by itself, just on a roll? Just add another sheet onto there, just to double diffuse it. Now, what I should do is, do we have the? I'm going to put this other redhead on at this point. I feel we need a tiny bit more fill at this point. Yeah, that's better. Yeah, so if we add another .324. Okay, that's quite sweet. Okay, so can we, do we have the switchability to switch between the two images here so everyone can see what we're doing? Okay. You know what, that stand's going to have to move back a little bit. It's actually just a little bit in picture, so let's hide that behind Tim's head. Keep going, bit more, bit more, bit more, bit more, about there, cool, okay. Yeah, that's great. I'm just going to take this up a little bit. Let's get a bit more light into that corner. Okay, that's starting to look quite nice. So this would basically, just in a conventional manner for coverage, for the first part of the scene, you'd probably want to overlap Tim coming in and sitting down from that point onwards, and then just take the scene from there. So let's do that. And then just before you move Tim, I really like the framing on Tim here because it's cutting him at the ear. So the emphasis is going much more through to Lorraine. If I, for example, did this, the emphasis is much more on Tim, and you feel his importance much more. But in this case, I think we're much better off holding his hand down there on the bottom right. And you see immediately there's a huge difference in emphasis in these two frames. This one, it's all about Lorraine. And this one, it's not. And that's huge when you think about framing. You could be more extreme and do something like this where Michael becomes even less important. So these are very important decisions about how you decide to frame a shot. I personally would go somewhere like this. But again, making the wrong decision can weaken the intent of your scene, and it's very important to think about, what's important.